Good afternoon, and thank you to PSS Gritec for this invitation. I'm going, after so many presentations, to bother you with another presentation about BIM implementation and project. But what I'm going to start is it that one? Okay. First of all, two fast words about our company. We are an engineering company based in Rome, in Italy, and we decided to implement BIM in our organization since 8-10 years ago. We started discussing about this implementation in a very early stage of the software development, and at the beginning it was a real challenge. But at the end, in 2013-14, we definitely decided to shift into BIM and Revit. And today we work 100% BIM oriented. We applied these procedures and in several kind of projects in different sectors for transportation and for buildings, general buildings. So this is a list, just a list. But today we are going to focus on Doha Metro project because in my understanding this is the project where the BIM was developed in the higher level we have seen in the international market where we are used to work in. And just a few words about these general things that you have heard about several times and which are the main goal from comprehensive use of BIM. And my only suggestion about that is that it's true, it works. Having implemented it for several years, I can say that all those things that sometimes seems to be advertising slogan are really working by this way. And just an introduction about the project as it is. Doha Metro is one of the most important and biggest infrastructure project ongoing in the world. Is managed on the very high level of requirements by the client, the final client, Qatar Rail. And we were involved as lead designer appointed by Vinci, the French construction company, for a lot of the Red Line South Underground. This is made by 5 principal stations. One is green because it's on the green line, but it's so close to the Red Line one that it was merged into the contract of the Vinci. This is a design-build contract, so we are working for the construction company, and we follow the process until the handover to the operation and maintenance service of the whole the project. This is the scheme of the Doha Metro first phase, that is made by 3 lines. Red line is the longest and is going along the sea, and the other one is managing the cross-section with the others. There is an important station that is crossing between 2 lines, gold and red, and this is a very complicated station. The scheme of the station is quite normal because there is the station box that is at the level of the railway, and different kind of entrances according to the geometry and the ground level design. And this is based on a concept made by UN Studio, the great design and the great architect company that made a branding manual giving us all the instruction to design the idea and the architectural furniture. After that, all the design activities were shifted to the construction company that appointed an engineering. In this case, it was us. This was a project that the client asked to manage 100% everything using BIM systems. And so it means that we moved from the BIM models into the rendering and presentations, up to the construction drawings, the shop drawings, construction drawings, and up to the work supervision, not work supervision that it's up to another company, but to assistance to construction from the construction company side. And was completed. This is the first station, Almadar B, the first station handed over to Qatar Rail of the whole scheme, and we are proud to have been the first company to deliver a full station to the client, to the final client. Some numbers not so interesting. The design of this metro is not so different in dimensions. It's very complicated and challenging by the level of fit out, because it's a very high level of requirements and of design. And also the tunnel was a challenge, because it was managed by a great number of TBM machines. It was a Guinness record, because there were 21 TBM machines working at the same time in the construction site. Not all for our project, but for the all lots. And looking after BIM organization of the project, at the end of the day, we managed quite 1,000 different BIM models. And this is interesting to have the split between the different typologies. And as usual, map, it's the most challenging and the most demanding about that. By this way, I'm going to repeat something that was said several times this morning. So I go fast from this part regarding design, because I want to focus my attention to the construction process. This is the list of the main software we used, and it's quite the same that I've seen about the other projects all the day. This is an interesting comparison between two of our projects. We were involved with 10 years ago, I guess 8 years ago, and it was our last project in the traditional approach. In a huge project for an highway in the northern Italy that is called Pedemontana Lombarda. And it's a project quite same in dimension. It means 2 billion of investment, of construction cost, not investment, construction cost. It's about around 2 billion of construction cost. But this project was performed everything in AutoCAD, and involved quite 350 people, as we said, 0 BIM, 350 traditional. While in the other project, we involved quite the third part of people, using quite everyone BIM design supplies. Both projects, huge number of deliverables, because in Pedemontana we have had 16,000 deliverables. In Doha M, in that project, 24,000 deliverables. It means a huge quantity of drawings. But what is most important for me, it's that for the Italian project, we produced 50 tons of paper for the drawings to deliver. Imagine that in Italy we have to provide 16 copies of each deliverable, so it's a huge quantity. While for the Doha Metro, we didn't use a single piece of paper, because everyone was managed by software, by digitized items. So this is very interesting from my point of view. And another thing, the project in Italy was managed full in Rome, while the other project was managed by two different offices in Rome, in Doha, working on the same database, on the same model, using shared servers and shared models. So it was a great challenge also to merge the team that was quite in half in Doha and half in Rome. We implemented in this project all the level, probably you've seen several times this picture that shows all from the 3D models came up to the facility management and to operation and maintenance. And this was for us the most important discussion, internal discussion, because we immediately thought and understood that at the end the approach of Revit out of AutoCAD as a commodity was not our target. Our target was to understand how these new methodologies can improve the quality of the comprehensive approach to the project. So it means not only the design phase, but also construction phase, planning phase, and also at the end, the maintenance phase and so on. This is another image you've seen several times today, so I skip quite fast. This is the model that we're used to manage all those things. Also, these images you've seen so many times today, so I go fastly away. Obviously, clash detection in a so complex project, it's a huge challenge, but was performed quite well using this methodology. And this is also another issue that was quite interesting to implement this automation and control system to manage the MIP issues of the project that were quite big, because imagine that also Doha and it's a very challenging environment for the high temperature that we are going to manage. And this is something you've seen, that's the clash detections. This is quite interesting from a point of view to see how the models shift into the construction and how complicated it was to manage these very model surfaces and very comprehensive fit out of the project. We were forced by the client to use that decided to have the highest standard at all, to use this kind of classification that was implemented by the British guys. And we were first to use, but this is really interesting because it's a correct way to manage the translation, the transfer of information up to the companies and people that are going to manage the infrastructure when it's working. Another issue that we manage fully using the BIM models is the scheduling of the construction works. So it means that not only the single pieces and everything about the construction was managed in fabrication plants, but also in construction site, everything in the plants was managed by the same model, and was very useful to look after the connection between these sites. And this is also another issue we fully manage by the BIM model, that is the estimating. All the stations and most part of the project was managed as using this estimation calculation to manage the payments to the construction company. So it was very, very important to have a perfect vision of what is going on the construction site. Another issue we manage also if in Qatar there are so strict rules about environmental issues and compliance, but we manage in the BIM model also all the, so I cannot read it properly, don't know if you want, if you can, but we also manage all the compliance with lead specification from this point of view. And at the end, last but not least, and for me this is very important to show that we succeeded in delivery all the information from design and construction up to the companies that are in charge of operation and maintenance of the infrastructure, and at the end to the final client. And this is very important also because the fit out of this project is very, very complicated, and it required also new technologies and new procedures to take care of the maintenance. And by this way, we implemented the full scheme of COBI files for all these elements of the stations. So it was useful to manage the procedures for construction, and also in the next stage for all the maintenance of this very complicated geometry and managing system, because it's very complicated to access to this ceiling, to this cladding that are in the project implemented. And this is very useful to collect into the BIM model that then we will transfer to the client all this information, also about everything, making into the BIM model the maintenance plan, and also all the instruction for health and safety of all people that are going to manage this kind of approach. This is very important for us, as I said, because what is in our industry, the technologies didn't affect in all those years mainly the result of the construction, while the process. No, we are building quite the same of hundreds of years ago. I've seen yesterday few minutes about your beautiful city. This is what we are building now. It's not more complicated or more challenging than the one. What has changed with the technology? This has changed the process. No, we are not changing the result. So by this way, it's very important to move forward after a more comprehensive approach to construction process. Because at the end, this is the real target and the real help that technology could give to the construction process. At the end, also more complicated, and this is very complicated, construction, are not so different from the old one. No? I've heard about, with the question, have you started with the AutoCAD or not? So I started drawing with the pencil. No? And it's not changed so much. The last hospital we are designing in Italy is not quite different from the first one I designed 30 years ago. But what has changed is the quantity of information, the control we have about around the building we are going to build up. So at the end, which is the aim that we follow with this comprehensive approach, to put all the actors of the construction process around the same common platform of communication, of sharing of information. And it is starting from left up, the client, the designer, architects, engineers, the supervision and PMC that is working within the construction side, and health and safety, it's very important by this way. The contractor that is going to build up the building, and at the end, what is very important, who is going to take care of the entire life cycle of the construction. And this is good because the most part of the money we invest in a building is not in construction, is in the maintenance and the full lifetime of the building. So by this way, giving all the information and all the instructions to people that are going to manage in the next future the life cycle of the building, of the infrastructure, it's our first goal and our target using these new technologies. It's not a matter of best design, best representation of what we design. We can do it in every way, but this is the real target from my point of view. And as time has gone, thank you very much to everyone, and thank you for this invitation in this beautiful city.